All right, let's talk about absolutely acing those MBA interviews. We're going to break down the ultimate roadmap for you. And the best part? It's all based on this amazing, totally free handbook from THEOMI. So let's just dive right in. So if you're in the middle of MBA prep, you know exactly what this feels like, right? The calls are coming in, the pressure is just building, and suddenly you're drowning in all this advice and anxiety. But what if I told you there's a better way? A way to prepare that's actually authentic and, structured. Okay, this right here, truth over templates. This is the core idea from THEOMI, and honestly, it's a total game changer. The whole point is that your best shot at success isn't some cookie-cutter answer you Googled. No way. It's your story, your real story. So let's talk about how we can actually find that. And check this out. The handbook we're walking through today, it basically covers 70% of your entire prep. I mean, think about that. That's a huge head start. And it all comes down to starting with the right foundation. So where do we kick things off? Well, it's not with a bunch of practice questions. It's with you. The absolute bedrock of this whole process is some serious self-reflection. Let me show you what I mean. First up, you've got to write your autobiography. And I know, that sounds intense, right? But hear me out. The whole point of writing this thing, we're talking 3,000, maybe even 10,000 words, is to force you to connect the dots of your own life. Your background, those big decisions, your passions, everything. And remember, this document isn't for the interviewers. Nope, this one's just for you. And this whole exercise, it has this awesome 2-for-1 benefit. First, when you write it all down, you get this incredible clarity about yourself. You finally see the why behind all your choices. And second, and this is the key part, that deep understanding lets you talk about yourself with real, genuine conviction. You're not just reading a script anymore. You're sharing a story that you actually live and breathe. Okay, so you've built that foundation of knowing who you are. Now it's time to build your defense. Think of it like a castle. In the MBA interview world, this is what's called your MOAT. It's that strong, solid defense you build around the questions you are 100% going to get. And what are those questions? I guarantee you, every single MBA interview, it doesn't matter what school, is going to come down to these 2 pillars. Tell me about yourself and why an MBA. Seriously, these are non-negotiable. Your answers here set the stage for the entire interview, so you've got to nail them. And what's so great about the THEOMI Handbook is that it doesn't just say, hey, answer these questions. It actually shows you how to do it. It gives you direct links to masterclasses that walk you step by step through building powerful, structured, and most importantly, authentic answers for these big 2. All right, so you've got your foundation, you've got your defense. Awesome. But now, how do you take all those long, detailed stories from your autobiography and turn them into sharp, punchy answers for an interview? Well, that's where we get into building your assets. Let me give you an analogy. Your 10,000-word autobiography, that's your data lake. It's huge, it's raw, it's everything. But an interview, that needs a pitch, a sharp 90-second story. The whole game is about turning that raw data into what the handbook calls a modular asset. Basically, a polished story that you can pull out and use for almost any question. Now, here's the magic trick. You do not need to prepare 50 different answers for 50 different questions. Forget that. Instead, your goal is to create your Super 6. Just 6 master stories from your life that are so powerful, so versatile, that you can use them to answer pretty much anything they throw at you, from leadership questions to questions about your biggest failure. So, how do you actually do this? It's a simple 4-step process. First, you do a competency audit. Go through your autobiography and tag stories for things like leadership, teamwork, resilience, you name it. Step 2, you pick your Super 6 best stories. Step 3, you shrink them down using a framework like Carl. And finally, step 4, you practice pivoting, using one story to answer multiple types of questions. Let's make this real. Look at this example of the Carl framework in action. That's context, action, result, and learning. On the left is the kind of long, rambling story you might have in your autobiography. I felt bad when it rained. But look at the right. That's the distilled 90-second version. See how it shifts from feelings to concrete actions and measurable results? I redeployed the team. The event continued with only a 15-minute delay. That, right there, is what interviewers want to hear. Okay, so all this prep is great, in theory. But let's be real, it doesn't mean a thing if you don't practice. Writing your story is something you do alone, but preparing for an interview, that's a team sport. And that's where the community comes in. It's your practice arena. So what is this community? THEOMI is built on this incredible pay-it-forward idea. It's a totally free mentorship platform where people who got into top B schools come back to help the next group of applicants. It's this amazing, self-sustaining cycle of support. It's really cool. So how can you actually use this community? Well, you can sign up for mock interviews with people who've actually been through it. You can even just sit in on other people's mock interviews and learn a ton from the feedback they get. Plus, you'll find all sorts of school-specific stuff, prep materials for IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, SPGMR, the whole shebang. So, there you have it. We've talked about your foundation, your moat, your assets, and your arena. You literally have the entire roadmap right in front of you. The only real question left is, what are you going to do first? I really want this quote from the handbook to stick with you. It is better to be a warrior in a garden than to be a gardener in a war. Think about that. The work you're doing right now, when things are calm, that's your garden time. That's what turns you into a warrior for when you walk into that interview room, the war. You don't want to be sharpening your sword when the battle's already started. So I'm going to ask you again, straight up, what's your first step right now? Are you going to open a new document and start that autobiography? Are you going to start outlining your why MBA story? Your journey, for real, starts this second. Go take that first step.